As we wrap up this section of A Heart Called Home, Dear Marriage, I just wanted to take this time to reflect on marriage in general. I wanted to be here with you to sit in a very raw, honest, open conversation about what does it mean to be married. So this is a little different than my normal format, but I invite you to join me in this gentle space of sisterhood as we talk about what what love is. I admit I don't really have a plan for today's talk, except to sit across from you, with you, in conversation about the totality of love and marriage from what I have learned and am continuing to learn, as in, like, just this week, because we are constantly evolving. I hope we are. I hope we're constantly growing. I hope I'm constantly growing. And I have been really blessed by having some hard questions, even just as soon as, or as late as this week. And to have been very, very blessed to have several women to reflect with, to talk with, and to speak wisdom into my heart and in my life. And isn't that what we need? I know I need it. And I'm so grateful to have it now. Mentorship, to have wise women that can reflect us to ourselves, that can give us perspective check. Because I firmly, firmly believe of all the various things that I have learned in my recent journey, it is the power of perception and perspective, and how by one shift, one small shift of what I believe my reality is, alters everything, everything. The way that I interact with my man when I have a shift, it changes everything. So let's talk about that. It's very, very easy to focus on the negative things. It is about ourselves, about our spouse, about the world. And when we do focus on those, we're trying to do several things. One, we're trying to figure out a solution, right? But even before that, we're trying to be seen. We want someone to say, "Oh, I see you. I feel you. How you feel is valid. Yeah, man, sucks, doesn't it?" And that validation of perspective, like, yeah, of my feelings, like, yeah, thank you. It does suck. That is awful. But our problem is when we stay there and we don't have the resolution to move forward. Or when I'll just speak about myself, when I'm not willing to look at myself and say, okay, how am I, in all honesty, how am I contributing to this situation? So again, I will make it very clear, we're going to talk about marriage. When you feel like your guy's being a butthead and you're like, oh, and he does this and that, and you can't believe, and you've got this laundry list of all these reasons why you should be complaining, why there's been an imbalance. It is amazing when we're able to step back and look at, okay, all right, how much of this is my perspective? Is it skewed for various reasons? And how have I been contributing to what I feel is the problem? And those are hard things to say because it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes to change. I was just thinking about this today as uh, there was a child, one of my children was, it seemed like everybody was on their back and everybody had something to say, like, oh, you need to do this better. Oh, no, you forgot this. And like, it just felt like he was all day long, he was just getting piled on. And I thought, you know, nobody really does that to me. And if they did, man, I would have really hurt feelings. even if it was valid. If someone said, Kelly, your laundry room is just a disaster. It's crap. Instead of me saying, oh, I know, I really need to get to it. Be like, no, just look at your laundry room. What are you talking? No. It would be ridiculous. But the truth, oh, you feel that sting of truth. I feel that sting of truth. My laundry room is a wreck, girls. It is. And I just am not motivated to rectify the mess yet. I will get there. But what's that point of piling on? So, what is that in our marriage? When we are constantly piling on, whether we're just doing it in our own brain, we're doing it to saying it to our girlfriends or saying it to God or whoever, of all of these ways that we feel that our spouse is doing us wrong. Oftentimes, in my case, it's a perspective shift. And once I step into I put on his glasses and I try to see the situation from his side of things. And sometimes it takes me a while to get there. Oh boy, all of a sudden I see like, oh my, for some reason, I was looking at it from this direction. And if only I saw it from this way, oh, that makes so much sense. I see why he was doing these things or not doing these things, or I see why these things are of value to him and these things aren't. And it is not because he doesn't love me that we have the same values of whatever it is, whether it's having the lawn mowed, which Brian, you're doing a great job, or if it's whatever it may be, where you feel like your husband has not been holding up his side of things. I know for me recently, it's because I had shifted my perspective looking at my situation from an outsider's perspective. And I think that's actually helpful when we zoom out and we see a much larger view. But I hadn't factored in for all of the reasons we were doing things the way that we were doing them. And the reasons, the logic behind them. And I apologize if this is cryptic, but take your scenario or insert whatever it is that you would like to and just imagine it for yourself. But once I'd realized that I was substituting a different person, another pair of glasses for his glasses or my glasses, I realized that there was a lot of disconnect from the truth. And once I was able to align with the truth, what is the truth? The truth is that my husband loves me. I'm very lucky. The truth is that he is doing his best to take care of us. And when I say my husband, I'm also talking about your husband because most likely it's the same case too. There is total truth in the fact that just because our guys do things different than the way that we do them, it does not make it wrong. It just makes it different. So the way that he's going to tackle something or not tackle something is because that is in alignment with wherever he's living. Now, that's not to say, I know for me, I'm not living at 100%. There's a lot, if I was living at 100% and I was doing my best in every area of my life, then the house would be a lot cleaner and there would be a whole lot of other things that I would just be knocking out of the park. But the truth is I like to relax and I don't like being stressed out and I don't really like stressing other people out. So I kind of have a very relaxed way of living. And so, yeah, but someone else's perspective, like, man, that Kelly girl's lazy. You believe all the things she doesn't do? It's like, that's a conscious choice built on various reasons that I feel are valid because I get to live my life. Did you know your husband has the exact same thing? He has a perspective and desires and things he likes doing and things he doesn't, and all of that. And when we're able to see that, oh, okay, I get to value certain things, and just because I value it doesn't mean he has to either. Now, that could be as simple as you're going out somewhere and you dress up all fancy, and then he puts on kind of his weekend clothes And you're like, are you kidding me? I mean, do you understand the dress code here? And you could be a real crabapple and you could bring that up and you could really turn him cold towards you. Or you could be like, wow, man made a choice. Check that out. Okay. And if he's okay with how he's presenting to himself to the world in whatever situation, I'm pretty sure he knows how to get dressed. Then I think we as a wife, as a woman, should be okay with that. And I mean, go ahead and try saying, "Hey, you wanna you wanna try matching me? You wanna be snazzy with me tonight? Okay, try it playful, try it cute, try it sassy in a cute way. Do not try it sarcastic or demeaning or critical because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. He just, maybe he wouldn't even come. So there's a lot of ways that we as women can just, I know I said it before and I've said it a lot of times. I'm going to say it again. But culturally, we're just not taught how to respect men's opinions about what they do. And it's just kind of like it's all out attack on men because men are stupid and are dorky and they're all beta males for the most part. And like all these different things that culture says is true. What if we let men be their own bosses? And sidestep for a little bit of history, I recognize that we are in a really unique time because of all of the changes that have occurred in the past. That I don't know how much history is questionable. Whoever writes the history, that's questionable. We take it just because it's in an old book. We go, well, that's a fact. No, no. Why do we think that? People lie all the time. And they state what they call truths or generalities or whatnot. And but that may not be valid. So we have our idea of what history is really, I think, should be taken with a grain of salt. What I have gleaned from history is that women were repressed and they were property and they were meant to be ruled over by men and all of that. In okay, there seems to be a lot that was written where it appears that way. But I also believe that there were a lot of things that were more in our benefit when we were living in a place where the men were the leaders and the protectors and the providers of a home across the board. I have a child banging on my door, trying to see if they will go find something else to do. He's really grumpy. He's a tired guy. Okay. All right. I have said child with me now. Something that a friend of mine told me this week. It was so awesome. Heidi, who was on talking about her 30-year marriage. So she did an energy healing session with me, and it was so wonderful. It was awesome. And in that, I felt such a shift occur within me in that time, and my heart was aching at that time, just with lots of questions. And what was really beautiful was the next day, she shared a few more things like nuggets that she had. And one of the things that she shared was to speak from my heart to my husband's heart. And that connecting from my higher self, connecting to his higher self. And I think when as when you've been in a relationship for longer than 3 days, there's a high potential of having lots of debris. And when you've lived with hurt, that debris, and you may not feel like it's all healed, you may not feel totally safe. And let me also say that a lot of that has to do with our trauma from childhood. And this is not, I'm not just blaming dads and stuff. It's just a fact that we form our idea of how we relate to men from from our first experiences. That's how we would relate. If we had an experience with a horse and we were thrown off or we were kicked or something, then we would probably be quite wary of all horses after that. So it's just it's about our experience, our early experiences. Not that you can't get kicked by a horse later in life and then change your perspective. But I have recognized that as I have been doing inner work on myself, as we have been focusing on our marriage, that, oh my gosh, a lot of the things that I have felt were issues in my marriage are going to be issues whether I'm married to him or not, or someone else is still going to be there, which means that's mine. I get to deal with that. I have work to do on that if I want to grow, if I want to heal. And I do. And I do. And it's uncomfortable because we've been conditioned that if we notice something that we don't like in ourselves, that we are bad and it's shameful. Instead of, oh, wow, I get to make a different choice now. Oh, wow, an opportunity to choose something different. What if we took away that pain, shame, blame that we put on a label of something that is quote unquote wrong or bad? What if we instead went, oh, look at that. Hey, do you want to, wouldn't it be fun to choose something different, to have a different belief? So much of my marital issues are because I don't love myself. And I apologize for the quality of the recording. We are in storm season in Iowa, and my daylight is turning into nighttime, even though it's only 3 in the afternoon. It's because there's a storm rolling in. Um, but thankfully the audio should be just fine. Yeah, it's if I'm not okay, and this is what we talked about in A Heart Called Home to Ourselves, is that if we want an incredible marriage, if we want an incredible experience in motherhood, we have to love ourselves. We have to have a beautiful relationship with ourselves. And girls, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not there yet. I have not mastered that, but I'm on that journey. I'm on that path. And it's beautiful. And the more that I learn about it, the more I know and I feel that I am supported on that and that I'm bumping up against those areas in life where I feel like, oh, I'm so bad. I am so wrong. And that shame and blame and pain come in flooding. And when I get to soak myself in love, drench myself in unconditional love, that shame, pain, and blame, they they just disappear. And I feel supported and I feel free to be able to make a different choice, choose a different belief, and operate from there. And when I do that, it changes my perspective on myself, which shifts my perspective on my marriage, my relationship with my husband. And that's why, man, see, yeah, it's all about our relationship to ourselves. So if you want to have an incredible marriage, we have to have an incredible relationship with ourselves. So, so what does that look like? Well, we talked about it earlier in A Heart Called Home to Yourself, but just as a little refresher, it means catching our negative thought patterns. And it also means getting curious about when we have those, we walk by the mirror and we see ourselves and we go, oh, or oh, I hate whatever it is that's negative. Let's examine a little deeper. Get curious about like, why did I do that? Why do I feel that way? Why do I feel that way? What is it? I'm gonna take myself. I really am not enjoying looking in the mirror and notice, especially when I wear my glasses, and I look in the mirror and I go, oh my gosh, you're getting old. Oh, look at all those gray hairs. I I freaking hate that right now because I want to be endlessly 35. I really like that. I like 35. I think it was a really good transitionary time in my life. I felt like I could do I was in the middle of having children. I was not done. I was in the middle. And I love that. And I have been feeling that way in my body. I feel vital. I do not feel achy or whatever. I feel very youthful. But then I check myself out in the mirror and I go, who are you? Ugh. And then I need to deeply examine my beliefs around getting older and my beliefs around aging. And once I spend the time getting clear on that, because right now I'm just curious and I'm trying to not freak out, but I need to spend some time examining that and asking creating a new framework for myself. And with that, honestly, mantras are super, super helpful because it's a shortcut. It's a couple words that create a shortcut and it zooms my brain to this new belief system and where it could be like 2 pages long, but this one short sentence encapsulates everything. So that's one way to start with self-love. I think, secondly, these are easy kinds of things, but just catching yourself in the morning before you even get out of bed, catching yourself throughout the day. You put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and say, "How you doing? Do you need anything? What do you need? What do you need?" When you ask yourself, "What do you need?" you are providing caretaking for yourself, that self-mothering that is so necessary because as nurturers, we are constantly giving, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's at home, wherever we are, we're built to give life, to nurture. We need to set a practice of self-nurturing. And when we ask ourselves, what do you need? And I love this. Kelly Brogan classically said that the way she started doing this was she would catch herself when she was needing to go to the bathroom and where she would just say, like, I'm just going to go pee real quick. She would stop herself and she would say, I'm going to have a wondrous, long, luxurious pee time and something to that effect. And she would, instead of speeding through it like, oh, my body doesn't matter, my needs don't matter, I just need to get this thing over with real quick so I can be of service to someone else, so I don't inconvenience somebody else. Instead, like, I'm going to go because of she had mentioned the sublimity of being able to sit on the toilet and just urinate because it feels so good to empty your bladder. And it does. It feels really good to not be filled with urine. As weird as that may sound, it's true. And when you take time to value yourself, that perspective of that, the way you treat yourself, people notice and they begin to treat you differently. And boundaries have been a massive thing for me in this last couple months. And I am so grateful for how the universe is that just as I was talking about marriage, I had one of the biggest breakthroughs of boundaries for myself. Like, wow, because you have to, when you are in partnership with someone, you do not become one unit. I know, despite like the two shall become one. Yeah, but you're still you. And with that, we need to know where our boundaries are, even in the most delicious union that there is. Otherwise, we lose ourselves and not in a good way. If I don't have boundaries, my children go crazy. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why my children, when they do go crazy, it's because mama hasn't had her boundaries up. And ouch, sorry, he's nursing. um, Boundaries are loving. They are very loving fences that we put up to not keep others out necessarily because well, not because we're mean, but because we have self-respect and we have self-worth and value. Do you have those friends? I have friends like this who they just say what they want. They don't just say what they want. They say what they need. And they express when there's something that they don't really like. Not in a rude way, or they're not available. Oh, that's always the thing. Are you the kind of girl, if you're like me, you're like, I'm available anytime. What works for you? And it's like, well, your schedule doesn't matter. It's whatever because you really, really want to make it happen. And you just want to take anything out of the way that would keep it from happening. And then the other friend's like, well, I've got this Wednesday at 7 p.m. or I've got October 15th open. You're like, well, whatever works, we'll make it happen. It's like, come on. It's okay to have boundaries too. So we talked about our messaging for ourselves. We talked about boundaries, checking in with ourselves, saying, how are you and what do you need? What if we were the most loving friend that we had? Wow. Wouldn't that be so nice? To instead of this ugly faced critic who lives in my brain, what if instead she was just the sweetest? What if she's my higher self and she's always checking in on me? She's cheerleading me on. She's giving me wisdom. That's who I want in my brain. And it's a journey to get to that point, but that's where I'm headed. And that's what I want. I I am very grateful for a lot of things in Christianity that I was raised in. But one of the things that did not serve me well, I don't think, is a lot of the shame part. And there's a lot of undoing that I'm working through right now with the just with the premise that the way that I digested it was that I was born broken and wrong and bad, and that the only way to fix it is to be in, this relationship, um, and to always be supplicant to that, and that to try my best to be perfect, even though that was hopeless. And I know there's lots of theology around that, and you can argue up and down. I've heard it all, and it's not my desire to go back to Christianity or have those answered quote unquote correctly. But it is to say that when I just am choosing to believe something different. I'm choosing to believe that I'm here for a beautiful experience on earth that is physical, a physical experience. And we're in this physical world that I've manifested into, that I am able to learn lessons that I couldn't learn outside of a body. And with that, with the overall idea that I'm here to live a life of love, I'm here to share that love and to experience it deeply. And that on the other side of this life is even richer, deeper love than I remember, then that sure has lightened my load thinking about what life is about. And it helps in marriage as well, when life doesn't feel quite so desperate from that perspective. I feel like I can be softer and more gentle in my life. I can be more playful and stop taking things so seriously, because I'm really good at that. And like what Heidi said about let my heart speak to my husband's heart. It's a reminder that we are on the same team, that we signed up as teammates. We are on the same team. And so often when you have built up hurts and whatnot, that it's easy to feel like now you're on different teams, but you're not. You're still on the same team. You just have to work out all that crap. And when you have all those hurts and you're interacting with your husband, it's challenging to be in a love space and to talk to the softness of their heart if you feel like that's not what you're going to receive, that is, you're going to have to keep walls up to keep yourself safe. Yeah. But tying this all in together, if it is about love, and if as my higher self, I am in touch with that, and I can operate from that level instead of this human physical existence level. If I can operate from a place of love in my interactions, that gets me back, he and I on the same team, so fast. So fast. It for me, it burns away the debris. And to the point where all I had to do, this is where perspective is so big, was hear that, understand that, and then it shifted. And all of a sudden, I just ran to him, gave him a big kiss, gave him a big hug, told him thank you so much for everything he's doing, and that I enjoyed being with him because I do. And I am grateful for all those things. I just want to remind you one thing, that it's easy to take other people's glasses and look at your spouse and your life and say, everything, all that stuff, look at all the wrong things happening here. And when I take off those outsider glasses and go, wait a minute. We are a unique duo. We are each unique people. I need to make sure I'm wearing our glasses because that's how we've created our life. That all of a sudden I was reminded why, oh, that's why we do things this way. Oh, that's why he does things this way. Okay. Oh, well, you know what? That makes sense. Okay, I respect that. I respect that. That makes sense. Because everybody has a different story. And other people, you look at someone else's life and you're going to make judgments just because that's how we are wired. And you might think that those choices aren't very good. And they're going to do the same thing to you. And we have to just remember where you are in this journey, and how you got there, why you're here, and why it works or doesn't, and what you want to shift. So I don't know that there is a soulmate for each person. There might be a lot. And I'm not really even sure exactly what a soulmate means. But I do believe that if you are lucky enough to find someone who's willing to live life with you and try and wants to keep showing up with you, you found something really special. And for those of you that have been struggling in your marriage, I don't know that anyone can tell you whether you should stay in your marriage or not. I truly believe that only you know. And I also encourage you to, oh, this sounds terrible, but try harder. Like, dig in. I want you to dig in because what you've built together, a lot of that may be worth saving. And I know coming from a perspective of in this past couple months, it's been a journey for us. And like I said, nobody can tell you if you should leave a marriage or stay. Only you know that. But the greatest thing that we can do is what my friend Heidi said, is to speak from love from our heart to our husbands' hearts. Because when we do that, it gets rid of a lot of, you're not speaking from the unfairness or the hurt or the scorecard. You're instead talking to that pure love that you joined together as a couple. That's what you did in getting married. That's what you're talking to. You're talking to the core. And a lot of times, all the surface stuff can look real messy and just get in the way. But if our hearts talk to each other's hearts, and what's beautiful about it is how powerful we are as women in communicating and shifting. We are master shifters. We are master manifestors. That if we want to change our marriage, if we want better and more passion and more love and more intimacy and more being cherished and all of that being valued, we can shift that so easily. Uh, I encourage you to listen to some of the earlier episodes on this series of A Heart Called Home to Your Marriage, where we talk about how to create those shifts and how simple it is. That guys are have a very simple operating system. They're basically an on-off switch, and it's beautifully designed that way. And when we can figure that out and realize that we are not women married to women, we're women married to men, if you are, then we just have to understand their operating system. And once we do, it's a whole lot more smooth sailing for sure. And we get our needs met. And we honor them for being the way that they are, the way they are designed. And they honor us for being the way that we are. So if you are not feeling loved and respected by your guy, are you loving and respecting him? Also, are you loving and respecting yourself? Because those two things are foundational. How you feel about yourself, again, someone who is, let's just say, a queen or a princess. A princess shows up somewhere. She's going to the mall, whatever, and she's walking through. The way she knows her worth and the way she carries herself, she doesn't have to have princess written on a banner around her chest. She can't, or have a name tag or wear a tiara. It is in the way that she carries herself and interacts with other people. I think of Audrey Hepburn when I think of that kind of stature and the gentleness and the graciousness and grace. That's someone who knows their worth and then wants to just share love with others. That's beautiful. I want that. I don't want to be operating out of hurt. I don't want to be operating out of fear. I want to be operating out of love. The only one who can change that is me. It does not matter who I'm married to. That starts with me. So it does matter who you're married to in totality, but when it comes to the foundation of it, it is, how do you value yourself? Because people treat us based on the way that we reflect ourselves to the world. If we come out there hurt and angry and wounded, unsure, unvaluing, devaluing, unvaluing, I don't know, whatever, pick which one you like. And then people will look at us and go, "Oh, she's got no boundaries. Oh, I can ride all over her, or and she'll give me whatever I want. I mean, she's such a pushover. She doesn't have any boundaries, or she doesn't. Her time isn't valuable anyway. Look at how she treats herself." And they'll take advantage of you. If you keep like, why is it that I'm always, why, oh, stop it. Stop it. It's because you don't value you. If you did, people wouldn't treat you that way because you wouldn't stand for it. And it's not in that Walmart toothless mom screaming at her 5-year-old kind of a way. It's, when people like, well, if that's me standing up for myself, I'm going to holler and yell and swear. And no, that's not you creating boundaries. That's just fear and anger and hurt, just vomiting everywhere. But again, the more we sit in love, sorry, I'm just sending that. I witnessed that, and that was so repugnant to me. And it's not like I have been a great mom all the time. I've hollered at my children, sure. But wow, when you see adults talking to children in such terrible, terrible ways. In public, you're like, who the freaking heck are you? And let me take you out back and whoop your butt. That's unacceptable. But you know what? That person's not operating out of love. They've got a whole lot of hurt, a whole lot of garbage they're carrying around with them, and they're throwing everywhere. Okay, so I'm just energetically sending her off and blessing her. Okay, Sarah, when yeah, we just gotta live in that place of love. Let's wrap this up. So, starting next week, we are going to be diving into motherhood, coming home to our motherhood. And I'm excited for this chapter. I also want to preface this with I'm gonna be honest with you. Where I'm at right now, I am someone who has been a chronic producer. I have found my value in what I make and not in who I am. And I am in a deep time of transformation, I'd say, where I am experiencing what it means to be. And in that, I admit I don't have a whole lot of motivation to do anything. I am spending my time, I'm caring for my kids, my husband. I am tending to my garden. I am spending out time outside, adoring everything that's growing, just soaking it in, the energy of the earth, the energy of the animals. I am spending more time in quietness. I am surrounded by this marshmallow of love that just descended upon me, and it feels beautiful. And I'm learning how to be. This is a lesson that's a long time coming. And there may be weeks where I end up not having a show up and I haven't died. Well, hopefully. It's just that I'm probably sitting outside with plants and small children and animals. So it's yeah, that's where I'm at. But I think it's also a great place to talk about motherhood. I struggle with again, it's that productive the machine of the world that if I don't put another episode out to keep the content going that it will fall off and then it will disappear. And right now my soul goes, so what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm trying not to force anything. But sometimes you have to show up. Sometimes you have to show up. And so I'm feeling very vulnerable in showing up right now because I don't have a polished plan. I have some things on my heart that I'd like to talk about, conversations I'm excited to have with other women, to share with you, to talk about motherhood because that has been a huge topic for me that I have learned to value so much more, not as it's just something that happens to you that you have to like you put on this it's a hobby because I think that's a lot of the way that motherhood has. I know it changes every woman. It completely changes you. But I'm so tired of the years I spent prioritizing my work over my children and my husband and my family. And yeah, it has been such a beautiful journey that I'm still going through, still learning. So I will say this is not a series on parenting because even though I have 6 children, I'm not an expert by any means, but would love to hear different people's ideas of expert parenting. But this is one on motherhood that we're going to talk about our identity, our value, our understanding of what other ways that it can look like. And I hope that this section brings you delight and peace and recognition, that you see yourself in these and that you see doorways that you can walk through and open up something bigger and more beautiful in your life, that you have a space to be able to accept this incredible gift of getting to be a mother. And that is not a place of depletion and sacrifice and draining, but that it is a place of nourishment and sisterhood. So that's where we're going. I feel better just talking about that. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And I am so delighted to have had these intense past several weeks of talking about one of the most intimate relationships we can possibly experience in our lives, our marriages. And one more reminder that most likely you married a good guy. And I think the more that we can turn our hearts to gentleness and love, the happier we're going to be, the happier our guys are going to be. There is so much for us to experience and to have in these relationships. And let's not neglect our men. Let's not neglect our hearts. So that's our hearts. Again, we have to start there first and then give our men the love that they deserve and the space and the respect. And when that happens, when they feel like they can inhabit themselves more and be respected for it, then they take a whole lot of load off of us, and it's beautiful. And we get that beautiful cherishing that we have been yearning for. So, yeah, thank you so much. I will be here maybe next Friday. I'm planning on it, and I'm really excited for the conversations we're going to have up ahead. Thanks for being with me. Before you go, if this episode spoke to you, I would love to stay connected with you in a deeper way. You can head to wholewomanawakening.com and join my email list. And I'll send you a free little gift with some simple, free, or inexpensive ways to care for yourself and come back to who you are. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed here so you don't miss what's coming next. All right, I'll meet you back here soon. Thanks for joining me.